So as you've heard, my name is David Mattin. I'm from a place called TrendWatching. Our obsession is with consumer trends, with the trends reshaping the mindsets, the behaviors, the expectations of consumers all over the world. But we are digital people, obsessed with digital, obviously, so I have chosen today just 4 digital-fueled consumer trends to put in front of you guys. They are trends that can allow us to just take a look at some of the big forces out there reshaping the digital landscape, to look at where consumer expectations are heading, and trends really, ultimately, that can empower you guys as strategists, as marketers, as designers, to build your next product or service and know that it is deeply founded in the newly emerging expectations of consumers. And we only have to look over the last 12 months to know how fast those expectations are accelerating. We've seen a ton of stuff. I mean, millions of consumers all over the world already living with these things, okay? Helpful big brother in your house. We're going to take a look at that. This is the world's first 24/7 smartphone operated store. It's in Shanghai. It's totally smartphone operated. There's no staff. You come to the door, you unlock the door with your smartphone, you scan products, you pay with your smartphone. There are cameras all around you checking you're being honest, just in case you're thinking of stealing anything, and then you lock the door and you go. Wow, okay, we're going to take a look at that. We have solar making sexy solar panels, Tesla making sexy solar panels, sorry. It's not just digital innovation that's happened over the last 12 months. In fact, I think today, the anniversary, I'm not sure. This guy is also a part of the story of the last 12 months. That's caused some ripples when it comes to the world of digital innovation. We're going to take a look at that. You remember back earlier this year, the whole delete Uber scandal, like 250,000 Uber accounts went up in smoke because people were not happy with the way Donald Trump responded to the way Uber responded to Donald Trump's Muslim travel ban. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some of those kinds of issues too. When you put it all together, it can just feel like this, like an avalanche of new products, new services, new campaigns just coming down the pipeline at you all the time. And it can feel very hard to know just how to make sense of it all, let alone how to devise a meaningful response, how to think about what you are going to do next. But that's what we at TrendWatching are all about. So I'm head of the team at TrendWatching, just looking out to the world of innovation in a structured way, trying to join the dots, see some of the emerging directions of travel, just basically spot the new trends. Now, when I say trends, people can become confused. When I say trends, I don't mean this type of thing. I don't just mean fads. I don't mean the latest thing that your 9-year-old wants, okay? I don't mean what's trending online. I don't mean what's viral online. I don't just mean new technology. We at TrendWatching have a definition of a consumer trend that goes like this. Just take a look at that for a moment, absorb that. But basically it says, a new manifestation of a fundamental human need. There's quite a lot going on in that definition. So I just want to take a step back from it for a minute and unpack our model at TrendWatching of how new consumer trends emerge, and that will be really powerful for everything we're going to see. So very quickly, we have a model of consumer trends and how they emerge that goes like this. On the one hand, there is change. Okay, we live with rapid change, technological change, social change, economic, attitudinal change. The world changes around us very fast, ever faster, and we're used to that. On the other hand, there's human nature, okay, which fundamentally does not change that much over time. So human beings are motivated by this set of basic needs and wants. Think about security, value, connection, love, excitement, whatever it is, these basic human needs and wants are very stable. They do not change that much over time. Now, at its simplest, when you really boil it down, our model of how trends emerge just says this. It says new consumer trends emerge when some change in the world unlocks a new way of serving a basic human need. Trends are all about new ways to serve basic human needs, okay? And crucially, we think you can see that happening, you can see that best when you look out to the world of innovation, you look out to the new products, the new services, the new campaigns, and you ask yourself, how is this innovation serving a basic need in a new way? Okay, now very, very quick example. If you rewind back into ancient digital history, if you saw the very earliest social media platforms, I mean, like before Facebook, before MySpace, right? Some of us are old enough to remember that. You could have said to yourself, you could have looked at this platform and said, aha, this platform is leveraging a recent change in the world, okay, in this case, the internet. Remember, this is a long time ago, to serve the basic human need that is social connection. It's serving that basic human need in a new way. Then you could have looked around you, could have found other platforms doing a similar thing, you could have joined some of the dots. That would have empowered you to spot the trend that became social media, which of course is now not a trend, is now just daily life, okay, for all of us. But that's still a very powerful example of how looking at innovation in this structured way, through this framework of external change and basic human needs, empowers you to spot trends. Another way of saying all this, very simply, is I am looking for the innovations that create new customer expectations, okay? Because when an innovation comes along that serves a basic human need in a new way, changes what people expect. It rewires them. Okay, it creates new behaviors, it creates new habits, it creates new expectations, and eventually those expectations spread. They spread across markets, across demographics, across industries. They will eventually spread all the way to your door, whoever you are, wherever you are. And that is why we are relentless about telling clients that you all live inside this, okay, the expectation economy. Okay, your competitors are not really the people who are just in your industry. They're not people who just happen to be geographically either side of you. Your competitors are those innovations who are creating, those brands, those startups, those products, who are creating the new expectations that will eventually spread all the way to you. Okay, that's why everything we do at TrendWatching is fueled by this. This is our network of spotters just relentlessly sending us new innovation examples from their markets all the time. And as I say, what we're doing at TrendWatching is we're joining the dots between those. We're trying to spot the patterns, spot the new directions of travel, and spot the new trends. So 4 trends today, 4 digital fueled trends, lots of examples from all kinds of industries. And I would just love you guys to be relentless about asking yourself, how will this innovation change what consumers expect, and what will these expectations mean for me? If you have just one light bulb moment, just one innovation you see where you're like, yes, you know, I get the expectations happening here, I'm going to take this back to my team, we could do something with this. If you have just one of those, I hope it's been worthwhile. So with that all said, let's look at trend number 1. Here's a great basic human need to start with. Convenience, service. Okay, everyone loves their life to be easy. That is a fundamental basic human need or want. There is an external change in the world disrupting that right now. That external change is AI. Okay, you're digital fuel people, of course, you know all the AI stories, but consumers out there know them too. They saw Google's DeepMind beat the world's best Go player last year. They see all this relentless AI innovation. They know AI is an emerging technology trend, and they are starting to expect that to have an impact on their lives, okay? And we are seeing those expectations playing out most powerfully in one particular industry, and that is retail. That is commerce, okay? These AI expectations are changing people's behaviors around retail and commerce and shopping. There's been a lot to prime that trend, no pun intended. There's been a lot to prime that trend to get it ready. Part of that story is this, okay? People are already accustomed to one-touch auto-ordering, or at least the idea of it. These Amazon dash buttons got people used to the idea that you can outsource a certain aspect of your retail to a button. You just press this button and the job is done. Okay, we've had that for a couple of years now. That's accustomed people to this idea. And what I'm saying with this trend, A-commerce, and the A stands for automated, okay? So you've had e-commerce, of course, that's history. You've had M-commerce. What we're saying in 2018, we'll see the emergence of A-commerce, where the A stands for automated. And A-commerce is all about people outsourcing even more of their retail behaviors. You know, the sourcing, the negotiating, the buying, the delivery arrangements, all of that, outsourcing all of that to AIs and smart devices. And I want to show you some examples of how we see that playing out. This is a great one to start with. This is called Finery. So this is essentially an AI-fueled clothes shopping manager. So Finery will plug into your email account. It will rinse through your emails and find all the clothes you've bought recently and pin all those clothes in a virtual wardrobe for you. So you can arrange all the clothes you've bought recently online in a virtual wardrobe. It will also sync with your browser, and any clothes browsing you do online, you can select an item of clothing that you're interested in buying, and that will go into your virtual wardrobe too. And then what Finery will do is it will go to work for you. So it will start to tell you things like, did you know the price of that pair of trousers has just changed? It's cheaper than it was, maybe you should buy it now. Did you know you could get it cheaper elsewhere? Then if you do buy it, it will start to say things like, did you know the returns window on this garment is about to close, so if you want to send it back, let me know and I will arrange that. So Finery becomes an AI, basically, that you can outsource a lot of your clothes retail to. It's a great example of what we are calling in 2018 A-commerce. I promised we'd talk about these things. Personal assistants, of course, this is Alexa, okay, and what they mean. We're used to the idea that you can ask Alexa to buy you something. That's one of those other things that has set up this trend, A-commerce. But it's going to go further than that in 2018, and this is a great example. This is the Echo Look. This little device you can see is called the Echo Look. It's a voice-activated selfie camera. Yes, how many trends in one do you want? It's a voice-activated selfie camera. So you put it on your desk, you tell it to take a picture of you. Then the crucial thing here is Alexa will give you AI-fueled fashion advice. Okay, so this is open only to people in the US by invitation only, but Alexa will go off to the cloud, go off to the web, and crunch a ton of stuff about current fashion trends and the expertise of fashion advisors, and come back to you and tell you how fashionable you look in your outfit. Okay, now that is pretty nuts. Lots of you are thinking, there's no way I'd trust Alexa to tell me whether I look good, right? And that's perfectly reasonable. Don't get hung up on whether or not you would use it. It's really the underlying expectation that I want you to think about. And don't forget, consumers don't have to use this stuff. They don't have to buy this camera to have their expectations change. They just have to see it, like you have done now, to have their expectations subtly changed. And what I want you to do is ask yourself, in a world where people expect to be able to outsource a certain aspect of their retail, of their shopping, of their commerce, to AI, to a smart device, what does that mean for me? How should I respond? It probably won't look anything like this, okay, but what does that world mean for you? Just very quickly, we see this happening in financial services a whole ton. So this is Plum. This is a new chatbot from the UK, syncs to your bank account. It scans your spending, your saving, your personal finances, and it's using AI to start to deliver personalized financial advice to you. So it will start to tell you things like, hey, did you know you spend, like a quarter of your income on cheese? Maybe stop that. You've told me you want to spend save $200 a month. If you keep spending at this rate, we're not going to be able to save the $200 this month. So you need to slow down. It's using AI to give you personalized financial advice. And examples like this are a great example to show you what I mean by expectation transfer. Again, consumers see this. There's a massive advertising campaign on the London Underground for Plum right now. Consumers see this. They see a chatbot that promises to use AI to help them with their personal finances, to allow them to outsource some of their personal finances. That changes what they expect of big brands, and we see the big brands responding. Okay, so this is Santander, obviously a massive European bank, doing something very similar. It's made a chatbot. You can use your voice to manage your current account, to make payments, to check your balance, all of that. And Santander say they're just about to introduce AI elements to this chatbot that will start to deliver you personalized financial advice. So the big banks know that these expectations are coming and they are responding. My question to you is, how will you respond in that world? And where is this heading ultimately? Walmart are working on prototypes and patents to do something amazing. They say they want to fill your entire house with sensors. They're going to know every time you pick up your toothbrush, okay? And because of that, they'll be able to know before you run out of toothpaste and auto-order toothpaste for you. So this, which is one of the most depressing sights in any bathroom, okay? This will never happen again if you subscribe to that. Of course, there are a small number of data privacy issues with anything like that. That's a common question. Okay, the data privacy issues are huge. We hear a lot from consumers that they are willing to give up some of their personal data if they understand what's being done with it and they feel they're getting anything in return. Whether or not that meets that criteria is certainly open to question. But I would just love you guys to think about a light bulb moment there. What does a world of e-commerce mean for you? Ultimately, this is a world where brands and businesses will be selling not just to human beings, but to algorithms. They will be selling to AI. So how does your pricing strategy have to change? How does your marketing have to change? Okay, how does your entire brand positioning have to change in a world of e-commerce? If you can ask yourself that question for 2018, that is a very powerful place to be. Okay, let's have a look at trend number 2. Here's another great basic human need to think about: status. Okay, I've told you that trends are founded in basic human needs. In affluent societies like ours, we are very lucky. Our most basic human needs are met. If you think about shelter, security, value, even things like connection, they are met. Now, in that kind of environment, something very interesting happens, which is another higher order basic human need rises to the surface, and that basic human need is status. Okay, status is probably the primary driver of most consumer behavior in affluent societies. And we all know what old-fashioned status looks like. That's like the supercar or the designer handbag or the very expensive holiday. We are so affluent now that even those things don't have the status power that they used to have. And you guys, you instinctively know this. In 2017, status is not so much about what you have, it's more about who you are as a person. Okay, we have a model of status now that's about, I am more connected, I am healthier, I am smarter, I am more cultured than the rest, okay? And you only have to look on Instagram and check out all the hashtags going on there to see that that's what consumers are obsessed with when it comes to status. And when you have a model of status that's about who you are as a person, your consumption choices become ever more important, because the things you choose to consume, the brands you choose to engage with, tell a story to the world about who you are, and they tell you a story about who you are. And when your status is deeply tied up with that story, these consumption choices become ever more important, just hugely important. And what you end up telling yourself, what becomes in the end the massively important thing, is that you want brands to share your values, okay? You want brands to have values that align with yours, so that when you engage with that brand, you're telling the world and you're telling yourself a positive story about who you are as a person. Okay, brands must have my values. That's one of the big shifts we see in consumerism right now. There's something coming along that's interrupting all that, and that is transparency. Okay, once upon a time, a brand could just tell you what its values were, and you kind of believed it. You didn't really have anything else to go on, so they just told you, this is what our values are, this is what we believe, and you just kind of went, okay. We now live in a radically transparent world. You can see right inside most brands and businesses. Those walls have turned to glass. You can see directly into them, okay? And in that kind of, think about Uber before I move on actually, right? Uber, we've seen directly inside Uber's internal culture in 2017, and most of us has not liked what we've seen. Okay, so the problems Uber's having with its brand are nothing to do with the service, the price, the experience is great. They're to do with the internal culture, okay? And you end up in a place where you start to tell yourself that the internal culture of a business, the internal culture of an organization has now become a part of its public-facing brand. Internal culture is now part of your brand. And if you're a marketer particularly, that is perhaps the most profound shift that you need to think about for the next 5 years. Internal culture is now a part of your brand. It's part of the way consumers perceive you. And I want to talk about a trend called insider trading, because in that kind of environment, a great strategy is simply to make positive changes to your internal culture and then tell the world about them. Tell the world the story of the positive changes you are making. So I've defined it. I don't need to define it again. Let me show you some examples of how that is playing out. This is Intel. This is one of the examples that helped us spot this trend. This is the CEO of Intel standing on a stage saying, the tech industry is woefully undiverse, okay? Everyone we hire is white and male and in their 30s. It's not good enough. I am going to dedicate $300 million to building a more diverse workforce at Intel. We're going to be very transparent about how we do that because it's the right thing to do. And yes, it is the right thing to do. It's a very powerful thing to do, and it's the right thing to do. But think also about how in a more transparent world, and in a world where gender is really on the agenda right now, that changes the way customers feel about Intel. Okay, that changes the story of the brand that is Intel. People can feel that Intel has values that align with their own. They can feel good about engaging with it. Okay, that's a great example of this trend. Here's another example that I love, very different, but the same underlying principle. This is REI. They're an outdoor clothes retailer in the US. Last year, they said, you guys all know Black Friday, right? This orgy of consumerism that happens on Black Friday. You have people fighting in the shops, it's really gross, basically. REI said, look, we are not into this. What we're going to do is close all our stores, 100 of our stores across the US on Black Friday, and we're going to tell our staff to spend a paid day, so we'll still pay them, but spend a paid day outside in nature with their friends and family, because that's who we are as a brand. We are not into this orgy of consumerism. This is what we believe as a brand, okay? And Black Friday was their most profitable trading day the year before. So they turned their back on their most profitable trading day for this. And again, it's the right thing to do. I'm sure they have very good intentions, but they're also doing it for a reason, okay? They know that this change allows consumers to feel differently about them as a brand. It changes the nature of the brand story, okay? When you can see right inside an internal culture, and when it's so important to you that a brand shares your values because you want to tell a positive story to the world about who you are, these kinds of changes are very powerful. They can become your most powerful marketing play of 2018. Okay, nothing to do with the functionality, the price. Your most powerful marketing play of 2018 could be all about the values you have inside your four walls, okay, and what that means to your consumer. Very quickly, this is a super fun one. This is a luxury Kashmir brand in Italy. They do something really cool. They give all their staff what they call a cultural budget. So you get 1,500 euros a year as a staff member to spend on cultural activities like going to the theatre, going to the ballet. I guess the cinema counts as culture. You can do that. Luxury brand, there's still traditional status associated with them, but think again about how that changes the experience for the consumer, right? Yes, I'm buying this high-ticket luxury item. I'm also engaging with a brand that has deep values, that cares about people, that cares about culture. It changes the nature of the experience for me as a customer. It changes the story I am telling the world, and that is a really powerful play. Last example for this, and I love this one. This is Juno. This is an Uber competitor in New York City, a startup in New York City. Just like Uber, open the app, tap the button, and a car's going to come to your feet. Now, Juno's one point of difference against Uber, that it claims against Uber, okay, has nothing to do with The speed, the price, the customer experience, nothing to do with any of that. The one point of difference Juno made against Uber is we treat our drivers better. So if you're a Juno driver, you're paid more, and you also actually get equity in the company. So if you're a Juno driver, you like co-own Juno. Think about that. That is hugely interesting, okay? An Uber competitor is not trying to outdo Uber on any of the customer stuff. All it's saying is we treat our drivers better. But think how powerful a play that is in a world of radical transparency, in a world where you can see right inside the values of a brand and you care deeply about those values because they're so tied up with your status. Okay? It's a really powerful play. Is Juno going to beat Uber? They actually recently got acquired, and I sent some of the story around them has changed. Are they going to beat Uber? No, they're not. Okay, Uber's position is way too established. Uber are basically unbeatable right now in New York City. That is not the point. Don't get hung up on the fact that they're not going to beat Uber. The fact that they exist, that they are tapping into this emerging expectation, that a brand's internal culture aligns with my values is the point I want you to take. Okay, that is a really powerful point. And I would love you, if you are a marketer, if you're a brand strategist, okay, to ask yourself, what does that mean for us in 2018? How could we make a positive change to our internal culture and tell the world about it and turn that into a powerful marketing story next year? Okay, because that is a hugely powerful shift to be tapping into. Let's move on to trend number 3. Here's a big basic human need to sink your teeth into: social connection. Social connection is obviously a huge basic human need. We all know what it's all about. Messaging apps are huge. Messaging apps are one of the massive external changes helping us meet that basic human need that is social connection. If you look at that statistic, it's pretty staggering. I mean, who would have thought that we could spend more time in messaging apps than we were in 2015? But yes, it's true, we can, okay? And the banks, the big brands know that that shift has come about. They are trying to adapt to it. So this is Capital One, kind of similar to Santander, making a messaging app that uses emoji, that's kind of supposed to be fun, that's like talking to your friends, and you can check your bank balance and all this stuff using emoji, using this messaging app. Okay, fine, that's pretty straightforward. But there's another basic human need that we need to think about here. We talked about this model of status as who I am as a person. Not status as what I have, but status as who I am. Okay, and this is a fundamental model of status when you're thinking about consumerism in 2017, in 2018. And that model of status is already changing the way we interact with these kinds of chatbots, with our personal assistants, okay? Don't pretend that late at night you haven't asked Siri like some pretty personal questions, or asked Siri some questions about your life and what you should do, right? We've all done it. In fact, Apple know that we do it. That is why they are hiring into the Siri team counselors, people with a psychology background. Okay, they are hiring psychologists to work on the Siri team to help Siri have more serious conversations with you and me, with all of us, okay? Because they know that is what we do. I want to capture all that in a trend that we call virtual companions. And virtual companions really is about saying, in 2018, we're going to see the beginnings of, we're going to see the start of a shift from AI-fueled personal assistants that are just functional, that are kind of transactional, to virtual entities that are true companions, that are more about things like insight and healing and friendship even, companionship, okay? And I want to show you some examples of how that is playing out. Obviously, again, I've defined the trend, there it is for you. It starts with something like this. This is a pretty straightforward example of a virtual companion. This is a new app launched just last month in the US called Yoke, okay? And what Yoke does is you open the app, you take a selfie, and it's using face recognition, it's using AI to judge your mood. Okay, it's going to judge the mood you're in and then tell you the food that you should eat based on that mood, okay? So if you're sad, it will be like, apparently, it will be like, have some eggs because they've got zinc in, okay, and that will cheer you up. Now, yes, right, that is nuts. That is totally hokey. But again, don't get hung up on whether you would use this, whether this is going to be successful, right, whether the science really adds up. It's the underlying expectation that is so crucial for you as a marketer, as a strategist, as a digital designer. Okay? Because what this is tapping into is an expectation that is very real. And that expectation is that I can turn to virtual entities now for more than just functional, for more than just transactional stuff. I can start to use them as true companions that can help me in other kinds of ways, okay? This is nuts, but that expectation is very real and very powerful. And again, you see the big players tapping into it. So very quickly, this is JD.com, the massive Chinese e-tailer, partnering with Nestle to do something very similar. You talk to this little gadget about your diet, it's using AI, goes off into the web and comes back and gives you advice about nutrition and how to eat better, to feel better, basically. Where does this head next? This is an intriguing example that lots of you have already seen. This is Replica. Okay, Replica is an AI-fueled chatbot that essentially wants to become a friend to you. Really, it wants to become a mirror image of your personality. So you open Replica, it starts asking you a whole ton of questions. It gets pretty annoying. Like, it really asks you a lot of questions about yourself, your parents, your life. You chat very naturally to it, just like you would to a friend inside a chatbot, and it understands the answers. Over time, it's learning about your personality. And the idea is that once you've evolved your Replica to a certain level, it's going to start to be able to deliver insight to you on your personality, on your nature that you didn't have before. Okay, this is very kind of bleeding edge stuff. This is not an example I would show every audience, but for a digital audience like you, this is an indication of where stuff is heading ultimately. Okay, it's pretty crazy. If it reminds you of a Black Mirror episode, you're not wrong. Okay, even the person who made it says, yes, the Black Mirror episode kind of gave me some ideas, if you know the episode I mean. Here is the example I want to show you. Okay, this is a cafe in Japan called the Blue Leaf Cafe, where you sat down, you were given a tablet, and while you ate, you had like an AI-fueled virtual interaction with Hatsune Miku, who was sitting opposite you in kind of augmented reality. Okay? Now again, that is super nuts. That is kind of crazy, but it gives you an indication of where these expectations are heading. Okay? A virtual entity can now be a pop star, and you can sit down and talk to that virtual entity over your lunch. This is where these expectations are heading, and they are powerful expectations for you guys to be thinking about. And if it all sounds a bit niche, then maybe think again, okay? Look at this statistic, 72% of consumers say, I do want brands to have some kind of digital personality that goes just beyond the personal assistant in my phone. I want them to have their own voice, okay? I might not necessarily want to do this. This is pretty out there, but I do want them to have some kind of personality. It doesn't have to be super high tech, okay? Think about Slackbot inside Slack. It's just a playful personal assistant that has a voice, that has some personality. You don't have to spend 5 years cultivating an incredible artificial intelligence to meet these expectations. But I would love you to think about how you will meet those expectations in 2018. In a world where people expect virtual entities to become companions, what does that mean for you? What does it mean for the voice that your brand has? What does it mean for the chatbot that you currently have or the one you're about to launch? How can you inject some personality into it? Again, if you can ask yourself these questions, you're asking very powerful questions for 2018. Okay, let's have a look at the final trend. It's a big idea to end on. We've talked about this model of status as who I am as a person. I keep coming back to it. It's like obsession. When you have this model of who I am as a person, as status, the experiences you've had, the things you have done, are obviously a powerful part of that model. And we know, you guys all know, for the last 10 years or more, we've lived inside this, okay? The experience economy, just this relentless status-fueled quest for amazing, surprising, rare experiences that you can share with your friends. You put them on Instagram, all this stuff that are great fun, but they also give you a status boost. They're telling you a story like, yes, I'm a person who has amazing experiences, and that's great for my status, basically. So here is a powerful question. Where next for the experience economy? Where is the experience economy heading? There's one very interesting answer to that, and it starts here. The iconic technologist Kevin Kelly said something very interesting recently. He said, we're moving from an internet where information is the basic unit of currency towards an internet where experiences are the basic unit of currency. And what he means is because of the maturing of certain kinds of digital experiences, like virtual reality experiences, augmented reality experiences, those kinds of experiences are going to become as real to people, carry the same kind of experiential weight for people as experiences outside in the real world. So we'll move from an internet where you go for information, where you go to be informed, to an internet that you go to have experiences, okay? And that is a very powerful shift. And it leads me to this trend, my final trend, the virtual experience economy. Because all I would add to that thought, if I may, is that in a world where virtual experiences will become as real to people as the experiences they have in the outside world, those virtual experiences will also become a status currency. Those experiences will also become a form of status. Okay, so this is about virtual experiences as a status currency in their own right. And I want to show you some examples in the last few minutes I've got of how that is playing out. First of all, very quickly, how do we know that virtual experiences are going to become as real to people as the experiences they have out in the physical world? Well, you all remember this. It feels like a long time ago now. Pokemon Go, okay? Hundreds of millions of people all around the world all chasing these digital apparitions around New York, Seattle, Beijing, Shanghai, wherever. They are not real. They're chasing things that are not there, okay? These virtual experiences are as real to the people who are doing it as the experiences they're having outside in the real world. And look at the way Pokemon Go became more than just a game. It became a platform, really, for status display. So you had hipsters in Brooklyn all getting together and having a love-in, status-fueled love-in together because they were playing Pokemon Go. You had YouTube creators like this making videos, making creative content, which is a massive status play, and putting it online because of Pokemon Go. And you had this guy who won, okay? Winning is still a thing. This is a guy called Nick. He's from Brooklyn, predictably enough. He traveled all around the world. He became the first person to capture all however many thousand Pokemon there are. The final third of his trip around the world was sponsored by Marriott. So there's an opportunity for you in the virtual experience economy, okay? Sponsor someone so they can win. But what I want to look at is, probably in this room, you are not going to make the next Pokemon Go. Sorry about that. Someone will, maybe someone here, but probably not you. When the next Pokemon Go hits, think about how you can use those tactics to leverage it for your own benefit, okay? How can you empower people to create content? How can you empower people to win like Marriott did? So if you don't make the next Pokemon Go, you can still benefit from it. But how else can you make virtual experiences that will be a status currency? One really easy way is just make them super fun. Okay, we don't have to spend much time on this. This is a virtual reality slide. You can do it at Topshop. You strap on the VR goggles, you slide down through Oxford Street. It's amazing, it's really fun. Then you can post the whole thing to your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever it is and get a little status hit. Look, I've had this experience that you have not had. Okay, so one way is just make them super fun. Another way virtual experiences will be a status currency is some of them will just be so terrifying that just to be able to do them will be a form of status. Another way, make cultural virtual experiences. This was an augmented reality installation at the Seattle Art Museum recently. It was made by the digital artist Tamiko Thiel. It was called Gardens of the Anthropocene, and basically it's about what the planet will look like once climate change has really hit us. And you walked around the gardens of the art museum with a tablet, and you saw this augmented reality experience play out in front of your eyes. We all know that cultural experiences are a status currency. I've been to this museum, I've been to this art gallery, whatever it is. Okay, how can you make a virtual cultural experience that is also a status currency like that? Finally, just to show how mainstream this can become and how quickly it can become mainstream, this is Abba going out on tour next year. Yes, get excited, permission to get excited if you're an Abba fan, but they are not going out on a normal tour, they are going out on a virtual reality tour. Okay, so you're going to watch them in VR. Now, this is not typically what you'd expect of Abba. Like, yes, they've got some young fans. Some of their fans are getting older. That's a sign of how mainstream the virtual experience economy can become super quickly. So I would love you to think about a light bulb moment there. Okay, how can you make virtual experiences that become a status currency in their own right? Okay, there are so many trends I could have shown you today. I hope those 4 have been super useful. Don't just take away the trends, take away this new way of looking at the world of innovation. Remember, when you look out to a product, a service, a campaign, just ask yourself one question: how will this change what customers expect? And then, well, okay, maybe 2. And then what does that mean for me? Okay, what do these new expectations mean for me? If you can relentlessly ask yourself that question every time you see a new product, a new service, or a new campaign, you can be empowered to spot newly emerging expectations, to spot these trends as they are coming down the pipeline towards you. Then, of course, you have to apply the trend. It's no good just knowing a trend. You have to do something with it, put the trend to work to come up with your next product, your next service, your next campaign, whatever it is. But that is more than enough from me. It's been super fun. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll see you outside. I think we're going to have drinks quite soon. Thank you. Thank you.